All right, we are going to get started. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. We're going to be discussing influencer marketing and live streaming for your business. We have an awesome session in store. Today our presenter is Dorotea Bozzi-Colonna Volpe. Dorotea was born in New York City to French and Italian parents. She has lived in Italy, France, Germany, Japan, Sweden, and the Netherlands, as well as the United Kingdom, so she comes from a great background. Dorotea is a strategic digital marketer executive who is fluent in 4 languages and specializes in developing business for international brands, specifically Fortune 500, by initiating and integrating social media and digital strategies in enterprise social networking, as well as building strategic partnerships and implementing marketing technologies. Dorotea teaches business leaders how to measure, optimize, and build current new media efforts to increase value and develop strong relationships between brands and fans. Her 3 distinct areas of business are personal branding, enterprise social networking, and social media and content marketing architecture and strategy. For fun, Dorotea likes to skateboard, so she has a little bit of a fun side to her. She also likes to relax by tweeting, so you can go ahead and follow her on Twitter at Social Espionage. And today we're asking you that you actually tweet out nuggets of wisdom from this presentation using the hashtag #tag_influencelive, and I'll go ahead and put that in the chat box. And you can also tag Dorotea at Social Espionage when you do that as well. While her presentations are highly interactive, we do ask that you hold questions till the end. And you will be able to type those in the chat box that you can see on your bottom part of the screen. And lastly, Dorotea is offering 1 hour off of her 3-hour Pick My Brain session. So this normally actually goes for a rate of $900, but she's going to be doing it for $600 to the person on the call that tweets the most. So once again, I'll write those hashtags and the handles down. And we'll go ahead and get started. And I also wanted to do a quick shout out to ReadyTalk. They are so great to let us use their webinar platform. So if you guys have any questions in the end, feel free to shoot me an email or let me know. ReadyTalk has been a great support to us, and they have an excellent webinar system. And this session will be recorded and put on our TAG YouTube channel once it's over. So with that, Dorotea, I will let you take it away from here.
Thank you so much, Perry. And I want to thank the folks at ReadyTalk for sponsoring today's TAG webinar. And I do appreciate your tweeting this out. Again, the hashtag is #tag_influencelive. And then my email address, which is at Social Espionage. And I do want to shout out to some very esteemed attendees. I understand that we have folks today on the call and on the webinar from Blue Fletch, a mobile app company, Cox Communications, Concept Software, Dodge Communications, Ronstad, Jackson Healthcare, OnePath Systems, Emory, Express Wealth, Agile Thought, IBM, NG1, 3Sage, even DeVry University, and that of Equifax. So thank you all for tuning in. We've got a lot to cover today, so I'm going to do my best to get through as much as I possibly can. I also want to very quickly apologize because I'm getting over a cold, so it may be that my voice is a little dry at times. I've got water here. I've got a cup of hot tea, so I'm hoping that we can get through all of this without you guys hearing me cough or sniffle. So that being said, I want to kind of talk a little bit about what live streaming is and then jump into some case studies that I think befit B2B companies but also B2C and how they're utilizing influencers in conjunction with their live streaming efforts. So what I want to talk about today is really examples that you could take some nuggets from, things that you feel like, oh, I might be able to do that or integrate this, as well as inform you of some legal issues that you really want to be aware of so that you're not only engaging your audiences, but you're also protecting your brand as you move forward into this new realm of marketing. And again, live streaming, like anything else that you do in the digital, online, or offline space, it's really important that you think about integration, and I'm going to touch upon that a little bit today. So live streaming in present day is sometimes referred to as streaming media. And what it basically is multimedia that is constantly received by and presented to an end user, okay, while being delivered by a provider. So the verb to stream really refers to the process of delivering that media in this manner. And the term refers to the delivery method of the medium as well, rather than the medium itself, as an alternative to downloading. Remember years ago we used to have to download something to be able to watch it. A client media player can begin to play the data, such as a movie or maybe you're live streaming a sport event or what have you, before the entire file can be completely transmitted. So to just give you an example, when you think of the history of streaming media, and I know I'm probably on the phone with a lot of younger people. I wasn't around at this time, but I will tell you that back in the 1930s, elevator music, right? Something now that's very commonplace today, right? Elevator music was among the earliest popular available streaming media. And nowadays, we think of internet television, we think of Netflix, we think of Hulu, we think of HBO Go, but believe it or not, that was the first ever streaming media. And what I'll say to you is that the term streaming was actually first utilized in the early 1990s as a better description for video on demand on IP networks. At the time, such video was usually referred to as store and forward video, but then over time it changed to streaming. And streaming is really live streaming, and that refers to content delivered live over the internet and requires some form of source media, whether it's a video camera, an audio interface, a screen capture software, an encoder to actually digitize the content, and a media publisher and a content delivery network, or CDN, to distribute and deliver that content. Another little bit of history. Severe Tire Damage was the first band to ever perform live on the internet, and they did that back on June 24th, 1993. Some of the folks on the call today may not have even been born then. Real Networks was actually a pioneer in the streaming media market. They broadcast the first ever baseball game between the New York Yankees and the Seattle Mariners over the internet back in 1995. And today, when we think of Major League Baseball, we could watch that on Twitter. So it doesn't really, to us, make a, almost think it's kind of hard to think that back in 1995, that was the first ever baseball game that we could watch over the internet. The first ever symphonic concert on the internet took place at the Paramount Theater in Seattle, Washington, back on November 10th of 1995. And the thing that made that so significant is they brought in rock and roll and grunge artists at the same time. They had Slash from Guns N' Roses, they had Matt Cameron from Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, and they had Barrett Martin from Screaming Trees. When Word magazine, that was the big magazine that Microsoft had actually launched, they launched in 1995, they actually featured the first ever streaming soundtracks on the internet. So just think about where we are today in relationship to Spotify and Pandora and Slacker and other, music streaming apps. We've come so far in just 30 years. What I want to talk about today, though, is how we're using live streaming in conjunction with our marketing efforts. So I've got a couple of examples, but I want to jump into Facebook Live and give you just a brief history of it. Back in August of 2015, Facebook, that social network with 1.9 billion people subscribing to it every day, launched Facebook Live actually to celebrities. So they did this actually before Periscope and Meerkat kind of, jump-started the mobile live streaming craze. Now, Facebook had already quietly been working its own way to get public figures to broadcast live videos to their fans. And when Facebook launched Live as a feature, it was predominantly available in something called a Mentions app that you had to download and then follow people like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, other VIPs like Serena Williams, you name it. And what you could do is follow that public figure essentially throughout their day-to-day. The other thing that was really unique about it is that it allowed you to, if you maybe missed something from a favorite celebrity, what have you, you were able to go back and actually watch it as it was unfolding in their timeline. So if you were following that specific celebrity a year or so ago, back in April of 2015, you were able to go back and actually kind of see, what that little piece was that you missed. And what that allowed Facebook to do is really understand how celebrity works on their platform, but also how to create a wider audience as well as a community around live streaming, right? So the innovation here, or at least, I think it is kind of beat your rivals to the punch, but it's also that Live publishes archived videos to the celebrity's Facebook page, so that allowed fans who missed that live presentation to check it out later. And I think that sort of was the sort of the secret sauce with regard to this specific product. Now then this year, in April of 2016, almost 6 months later, Facebook then launched Live to the public. And with Facebook Live, users can now use their phone, use their computers, what have you, to share a moment instantly with the people who follow themselves or their brand. So this means every friend, every follower, every fan can actually be there with you, and you can respond to their comments and see their reaction. So yes, Facebook wants all of that YouTube traffic. More eyes means what? Means that they can charge for more advertising. So let's take a look at a couple of case studies. I've created kind of talked about a few here. Dunkin' Donuts, great B2C brand, but they're also B2B in that they do have franchisees. Something that they did earlier this year that I thought was really interesting. They celebrated National Donut Day, but the way that they did it is they integrated it with both Snapchat and Facebook Live. Melanie Cohn, who's a social media manager for Dunkin' Donuts, stated that the brand saw success from the start with its first ever Facebook Live session back in February of this year. And what they did was they gave fans a peek into the Dunkin' Donuts kitchen. And, she felt that because of this success, and I'm quoting her now, we decided to utilize the platform again for one of our favorite holidays, National Donut Day. And National Donut Day takes place, by the way, on June the 3rd. But on June the 2nd, they did a big brand push. The brand featured its manager of donut excellence. Isn't that a great? I want manager of donut excellence. What a great title. This guy named Rick Golden. And what he did was he demonstrated a special recipe for a donut cake on Facebook Live. And he did it live from the kitchen at Dunkin' Donuts at their corporate headquarters. They announced it on their website, and they shared that they were going to run a 3-day event beginning on Snapchat, right, and ending on the day of National Donut Day. So here is the announcement. Here, by the way, is their page. Let me get out of this so you can kind of see it. But they do, I'll just show you quickly another quick video that they've done here. I don't know if you're able to hear it, but I'll pop it open. Here's them celebrating Halloween. Oops. Let me pull this up. And I don't know if this was done on live or not. Oh, I want to say that that's a commercial. Let me just try to find a live one. Here's a cute live one. Again, they're really good about getting people to commit and then also to get those eyes. Just to give you an example, this had 22 shares already, and it's already had 4.6 thousand views. I did want to try to find the one of the gentleman in the kitchen, but I think it's so far back in their timeline, so forgive me. What I will say that was really interesting is that they've also started to use some influencers. Let me quickly just jump into, I wanted to kind of show you guys this one because I think it was interesting. And I created a hashtag for it as well, so thanks for your patience. This should be it. So one of the things that they did was they used an influencer. Oh, this is the wrong bit.ly. I apologize for that. Let me grab this again. The actor Logan Paul. And Dunkin' Donuts decided to use Logan Paul because he's very well known in conjunction to Vine. And this was listed in Ad Age and a couple of other places. And one of the things that they did was they really leveraged Logan Paul's following on Vine in creating some very specific content for their loyalty program. And what I'll say to you that was really cute about this is that he was able to get people who were already following him as a social media star to download the Dunkin' Donuts app, go ahead and connect themselves to the Dunkin' Donuts loyalty program, and then be able to get deeper into the brand love that people had for the Dunkin' Donuts brand. He's got almost 9 million followers on Vine and another 6 million on Facebook. And what he was able to do is create a very meaningful interaction between Dunkin' Donuts, the brand, the people who love them, and then also, obviously, the Dunkin' Donuts product. So, again, apologies I didn't have the exact correct URL there, but at least you can kind of see the press that they were able to receive in Ad Age. Another company that I think is doing a really great job is a company called Tastemade. And I did find the correct video for this one. Tastemade, if you're not familiar, is a community of deeply passionate foodies and kitchen creators. They curate the content of tastemakers from all around the world. And these tastemakers are already creating some pretty amazing content. Tastemade's head of programming, a guy named Oren Katsev, says his team has started experimenting with repurposing a lot of its Facebook Live footage for other platforms. So what they're doing is most recently they're using a portion of its live pancake art videos on Snapchat. And here's just one of those videos live, and I hope that you can actually see it. And again, this is an adorable way to kind of show some of their content creators and how they're making, in this case, obviously, some really interesting pancakes. They're almost works of art. And I'm going to stop that for a moment and jump over to something else. So Princess Cruise Line did a really interesting, I'm going to try to find Princess Pinky Girl so you can kind of see her. Princess Cruise Line partnered with Jennifer Fishkind from Princess Pinky Girl. And one of the things they did with her as an influencer, which I thought was really interesting, and I'm trying to find this video, so forgive me. It was done on, there's she and I actually, at an event called Blog Her. Back in August of this year, and I'm trying to find the URL because I couldn't get to it earlier. Let me just jump on her videos and we'll see if we can jump on that. Let me look at her videos. So one of the things that was really interesting that she did with Princess Cruise Lines is they actually sent her and her family on a cruise, and I'm trying to find it. This is back in August. Let me take a look here. If I can find it. Stick with me, guys. I'm trying to find our homepage. Okay. Let me take Princess Pinky Girl. And thanks for your patience. One of the things that they did with her specifically is they let her go on this cruise and then talk about it. So she actually live streamed the entire event to her followers. And the thing that made this so significant is that in a matter of minutes, she had like 40,000 people watching it from home. Let's see, Princess Cruise Line. I had it up and then I lost it, so thanks for your patience. Let's see if it pulls it up. Okay. Here's, well, I don't think that this is the live one, so sorry that I couldn't pull that up. But what I'll say is the thing that was really so unique about this is that she was able to get someone, you know, the attention of a lot of her followers to Princess Cruise Line. The other thing that's really magical, specific to live streaming, is now what's happening with Instagram. You know, Instagram has offered stories. On August 2nd, Instagram launched Stories, and Stories is a new feature that lets you share all of the moments of your brand's day, not just the one you want to keep on your profile. As you share multiple photos and videos, they appear together in a slideshow format known as your story. And Instagram believes that with stories, you don't have to worry about overposting. Instead, you can share as much as you want throughout the day with as much creativity as you want, but you can bring your brand story to life by culminating everything in a story. And you can do this with text, with their drawing tools. So really what they're doing is they're showing how that they're very handily competing with Snapchat. The photos and videos will disappear after 24 hours, and they won't appear on your profile grid or in your feed, so that's a real positive. And you'll begin to see stories from people you follow in a bar at the top of your feed. So a lot of you probably are already on Instagram, and you see some of your best friends and the more popular accounts showing up at the top of your feed, allowing you to click on that content. So when there's something new to see, you'll see that in their profile photo with a colorful ring around it. Now, to view someone's stories, all you've got to do is tap on their photo, their profile photo, and then view their stories at your own pace. You can tap and go back and forward or swipe to jump to another brand or person's story. If you want to comment on something you see, you can tap and send a private message to that person or Instagram them directly. And they have direct message now on Instagram, which didn't really exist before. Unlike regular posts, though, there are no likes or public comments. So what happens with your brand is your story follows the privacy settings of your account. So if you set your account to private, your story is visible only to your followers. However, you can easily hide your entire story from anyone you don't want to see it, even if they follow you. So when watching your own story, swipe up to check out who's seen each photo and video, and you can even choose to feature a particular part of your story by posting it directly to one of your social media profiles. Now, Instagram and Snapchat are really competing right now for the hearts and minds and fingers and eyes of youth. One of the things that's kind of interesting that I found was that according to Snapchat's website, on any given day, Snapchat will reach about 41% of all 18 to 34-year-olds in the United States. But also according to a recent study, 32% of U.S. teens still list Instagram as their most important social network, more than any other social network. So what I'll say to you here is that it's really important if you're reaching out to a younger audience, millennials or decision makers that are in that age group, that you really consider Instagram stories as a methodology. Recently, I had the pleasure of working with NBC on the Olympic Instagram account for Ryan Seacrest. And what we did was we utilized Instagram stories during the Olympics. We recently posted a socialception story in which it used Instagram and Instagram stories to spread awareness about Ryan Seacrest's Facebook Live videocast. And NBC Universal was utilizing stories as another promotional social channel to keep followers abreast of certain brand events, both on and offline. And this allowed for event-based content with a different immediate sensibility that's a little bit different than just a static Instagram picture or post. And I think J.Crew has done a really good job of this. J.Crew posts Instagram stories that are cohesive and really creative journeys. They do it with very strong calls to action. J.Crew does something very important in its Instagram stories in that it stays true to the larger brand creative vision and vibe. So keep this in mind no matter what kind of content you end up creating for this new feature. Try telling an Instagram story that has a call to action. In this case, J.Crew was trying to get people to comment on their sunglasses, right? They were actually testing whether or not this new feature in Instagram and Instagram stories would work out nicely for their limited time only sunglasses. So what I'll say to you here is that with regard to Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook Live, urgency is really smart because it's a great way of testing whether or not this feature is worth your time and attention and also the resource investment. You know, here what they did was they were utilizing the opportunity to figure out how many people would hashtag and talk about their sunglasses. And ultimately they had a call to action, right, so that you could actually purchase the sunglasses or join a contest. You know, and what I'll say to you is that this is also part of really integrating live streaming, whether it's Facebook or whether it's Instagram stories or Snapchat, and really tweaking your strategies around where your audiences spend their time. So this is a really important analytical reminder for all you smart marketers out there. Really think through how you're going to utilize these channels and integrate it with other marketing efforts. Another really great example here of influencer marketing is how the Latina Bloggers Connect and Tide utilized Instagram stories and Instagram to tell the story of I am not a label. If you remember correctly, and all of you are probably aware, we're right in the middle of a huge presidential run for the election, and it's coming up sooner than later. Earlier in the year, one of the presidential candidates was very vociferous about his views on immigrants and what he would do to, label those folks as a certain thing. Well, Tide and the folks at Latina Bloggers Connect got together, and they sent out 50 or so of these T-shirts to Latina bloggers that had a large community. And what they did was they talked about the fact that I am not a specific label, and they wrote that in, on these T-shirts. Well, this was so successful for Tide that people started hitting them up and wanting the T-shirts. So unfortunately, they only made 50 for the influencers, but they had a really great number of views and a number of shares, specifically on Instagram with regard to the following of these Latina bloggers. And also because they were taking advantage of a very trending topic at the time, they were physically able to actually see their call to action on the Tide website. So that's something to think about as well. Calls to action, integration, making sure that it's part of your plan. Now I want to talk a little bit about Meerkat versus Periscope. As you know, last year, or actually 2 years ago, Meerkat and Periscope were sort of vying for the attention of the folks who were attending South by Southwest. Meerkat was released on Product Hunt, the website Product Hunt, and quickly became the darling of South by Southwest in March of 2015. Even Jimmy Fallon was streaming his life using Meerkat, and they had over 2 million users in just a short period of time. But what had happened was Twitter actually already had publicly announced that they were purchasing a company, and in March 26th of 2015, smack dab in the middle of South by Southwest, they announced their new product, Periscope. And what they did was they put the kibosh on Meerkat's access to the social graph of their Twitter followers. Periscope is basically Twitter's live streaming video app. Helps people find broadcasting of all sorts, mundane stuff to, what somebody's eating for breakfast that's a celebrity, or waiting for AT&T, to fix their wiring in their house, getting out of bed in Silicon Valley, looking outside of their office window in Chicago. And when Twitter bought the company behind Periscope earlier in 2015 for about reportedly $100 million, the launch came really at, I think, poor timing for Meerkat. Now, while Meerkat is still around and they're still working to kind of get back into Twitter's good graces, this simple app of Periscope allows people to not only live stream, but also to get interactions and to save that content, unlike what Meerkat's original offering was. So Periscope is actually owned by Twitter, sees a higher number of broadcasts shared and linked with Twitter than that of Meerkat, obviously because they have access to the social graph. But here's something that's very interesting about Periscope. You can actually like something with a heart and immediately comment. So if you're doing the live streaming on Periscope, you actually have that interaction with your audience. And here's a few statistics about Periscope. They had 1 million users in just the first 10 days. They have more repeat active users than Meerkat. About 57% of people on Periscope are repeat compared to 3 times more of influencers as well. 2 million people use the app every single day, and that's as of August of last year. And users are streaming nearly 40 years of watch time every day from the iOS and Android apps. The top 3 countries where Periscopes are live, and that's what they call them, Periscopes or scopes when you're putting out a live video. The top 3 countries are live from USA, Turkey, and Brazil. And 1% of Internet users between the ages of 16 and 64 who were surveyed use Periscope, even if not to do live video of themselves or their businesses, but actually to watch video. They're following their favorite celebrities and their favorite brands. Periscope URLs tend to be posted more by women than they are by men. And here are a few things to know about the emerging trend of live video and why it's important. Facebook Live and Periscope are not the first live streaming apps by any means, but they are emerging as more people are shooting video with their smartphones and sharing their experiences on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and a slew of other platforms. When it comes to business marketing, smaller emerging services just like these might be more effective than getting lost in the shuffle on bigger social networks like YouTube, right? And that's something that I actually derived from Forrester Research. They've been really watching how, Forrester specifically, how consumers as well as decision makers at brands, for B2B brands, are utilizing and interacting with these new live channels. So it's really important that marketers who prioritize investments in Facebook and Twitter and their overfished waters may be missing a big opportunity to engage with customers on smaller social networks with emerging platform like video. And that was something that one of Forrester's lead analysts, James McQuivey, recently wrote. So here's the potential. You remember when sharing a photo of your breakfast or dinner seemed like a crazy thing, right? No one would ever want to do that. But that wasn't too long ago, and everybody's doing it now. Live streams might seem equally crazy now, only to become second nature in just a few months. From news broadcasts to travel adventures and even birthday parties and weddings, it's shown to faraway relatives or friends that maybe didn't have access to come to the event. All the possibilities are really there. All you need is a Twitter account, a solid internet connection on your phone, and you can Periscope. In the case of Facebook Live, for companies, there's a major potential for advertising and a way for your brands to connect directly with your customers. So let's take a look at some best practices. Spotify. This is a really interesting case study. Spotify, as you know, is a leading streaming music app. They've taken to Periscope very early on to broadcast exclusive performances of guest musicians. They have in studio in their offices on a regular basis, including this Little Mix one, which you see featured here. And discussing their first scope, filmed the day the app was launched, Josh Karp of Spotify, their global director of social media marketing, said that they had 380 or so live viewers and about 1,500 hearts on the stream. And on the replay, they had another 200 or so. So they already started to see the traction. He said that Spotify is still looking at how the replay streams work and how quickly they get updated. But it looks like in total, just that one stream was about 500 people or so who viewed it in just a 24-hour span. So what Spotify has done is it's now invested and turned to Periscope to provide exclusive product announcements, like an update that was made in May of this year to add mood-based playlists and automatic song selection to match your running pace or your exercise on the Spotify app. Their audience has responded with ever-increasing engagement, and that was really important for them. General Electric, big B2B company, right? They celebrated Drone Week on Periscope. So, you know, everybody knows General Electric. They're an international corporate mega brand, and they're not too large or too slow to experiment with a new content modality like Periscope. One of the corporation's most popular early uses of Periscope was behind-the-scenes interview with popular celebrities like Neil deGrasse Tyson, you know, the guy who always talks about, NASA and its program, and also Bill Nye. They've also done some truly incredible things with cameras on drones, providing a bird's-eye view of GE facilities and their interesting sites, utilizing this during Drone Week, which I thought was really interesting. And here's something that will really hit home for those of you who follow politics. House Democrats earlier this year staged a sit-in, okay, in an effort to push their Republican colleagues to actually vote for a gun control bill that would exclude suspected terrorists from purchasing automatic weapons. It was led by, right here in Georgia, our Representative John Lewis, our Georgia House Representative, and he sat down on the chamber floor chanting #NoBillNoBreak and calling for that vote to take place. So the beginning of this dramatic protest was captured initially on C-SPAN. They had a live stream, but then over time the video cut out. So what House Republicans had called, once they had called a recess, triggering the shutdown of the camera, the C-SPAN uses and broadcasts, effectively cutting off all public access to seeing the protest. However, the representatives turned to Periscope and Facebook Live to begin to stream their own video. Periscope compiled a list of the live broadcasts of the sit-in so that viewers can follow it along with the protest under the #NoBillNoBreak. And you wouldn't believe the amount of people who responded. So here's you can see on the screen some examples. But just in a short period of time, they received 2,369 reposts and another 1,883 hearts. IBM, another big B2B brand. So don't think this is just for B2C brands. IBM uses Periscope for the latest broadcast from @IBM on Twitter. That's their official IBM Twitter account. They create a Periscope channel for all of the live events that IBM does called IBM Insights. We recently had a big one in Vegas, and if you look and follow #IBM Insights, you'll actually see the number of followers they had and the number of comments. I strongly recommend for you to follow IBM on Periscope as well as the others I aforementioned because they're doing some pretty amazing things. Now I want to jump into Snapchat. You know, Snapchat Snaps is really revolutionizing the way that millennials are communicating and those that are younger. Snapchat was launched September of 2011. They have, hundreds of millions of daily active users. About 20% of all U.S. social media users and 30% of all millennial internet users use Snapchat regularly. And 60% of Snapchat users contribute content every day. They share about 9,000 images every single second. So think about this. When you blink, about 10,000 images are hitting Snapchat right now. They have about 10 billion daily videos. 16 heads of state or governments are currently utilizing Snapchat. So if you think Snapchat is just for kids, guess what? John Kerry, right, our Secretary of State, has an account on Snapchat. 35% have stated that they love using it because their content disappears straight away. And 30% of Snapchat users use it because their parents aren't using it, although that is quickly changing. 11% of drivers admit to checking Snapchat regularly while driving. And while that's a scary statistic, you can see because of the type of content, it's really growing an audience. And there are plenty of B2C examples of Snapchat, so I wanted to share a couple of B2B companies and what they're doing with this channel. Hubspot, right? Hubspot Inc. has their own Snapchat channel. And what I'll say to you is that they've had really great success in building a strong following because HubSpot launched their Snapchat channel to face that challenge head on. One of their employees said, to make our Snapchat channel valuable, we're using it to serve as both a marketing and recruiting channel, a place where we can showcase our unique culture, the perks of our company, or our awesome employees and our inbound philosophy. And HubSpot shared that on one of their blog posts on Snapchat. And this is what I'll tell you. Using a human voice and giving people a sneak peek inside a company's culture and things they're experiencing, what you're doing there is that you're allowing people to align themselves with your brand. So if you're trying to, as a company, recruit more technologists, more people into understanding your culture, Snapchat is a great way of doing that. Cisco Systems, another huge B2B company, right? It's pretty new to the Snapchat game, but with the company announcing on its blog that they've now created a hashtag, We Are Cisco Tribe, they're actually utilizing Snapchat predominantly from their HR team. Their recruiting and their careers teams are utilizing this, and they took over their Snapchat channel in April of 2016. Since Snapchat is the platform for fun, Cisco has promised to provide its followers a behind-the-scenes access to everything from the annual employee crawfish boil in Texas to actually tours of their Raleigh, North Carolina office. Cisco on Snapchat has the username We Are Cisco, and I strongly recommend you take a look at that. They're pretty good about keeping their content fresh and keeping it unique. So here's a couple of, here we are. Here's the We Are Cisco Snapchat channel. So here are a couple of best practices that I think are very helpful. Really think about how you can provide something of value. And I say this more to B2B companies than B2C because B2C companies try to be cute and funny, and that's great. You can do the same with B2B, but any piece of marketing content you create here needs to have value. And your snap should be, no different, right? Strive to create something inspiring, something educational and engaging that will keep your audience coming back for more. A great way to do this is to provide them with a quick sneak peek from what's happening around your office to trade shows or to events that you're sponsoring. Maybe it's a charitable event you're doing internally, or even the latest product that you're working on, if it's feasible and it's okay to share it with the public. Provide something of value. Another really great way to use Snapchat is, feature something to delight the eyes of your audience. Emojis, filters, text, and drawings are all ways that you can add some vibrancy to your stories and snaps and keep your audiences scanning and engaged with your message. And also, and I talk about this a lot, integration. Use other channels to promote your Snapchat presence. We saw that with Dunkin' Donuts, right, for National Donut Day. They sent an email out, they did a press release, they talked about it on the other social media channels. It's really important that you leverage other social media channels to spread the word that you're on Snapchat. Since Snapchat is an incredibly unique platform, one that is less formal, a little bit more fun, show your followers what they could be missing out on. And what I'll tell you is NARS did a really great job of this as well, if you're familiar with the cosmetic brand. A couple of years ago, they got on Snapchat, and what they did was they told their folks on Instagram and also on Twitter, and if you want to follow them, it's at NARS Assist. It almost looks like Narcissist. NARS Assist. And they were talking about the release of their new colors for fall. Well, lo and behold, they had so many people tune into their Snapchat channel in just those 10 seconds. Some people are actually booted off because there were just too many people accessing the content, that fashion bloggers and even Vogue and some magazines like Ad Age took notice and talked about it. So again, sneak peeks really do work, right? Also, it's important that when you think about how you market as a B2B company, it's okay to use B2C brands for inspiration. Since there are so many B2C brands that have invested a ton of time and money into their Snapchat efforts, look at them for a little inspiration. Follow some of your favorite brands and take notice on the things that they're doing that have captured the attention of their audiences, and look for ways to kind of parlay that into your B2B brand efforts. Some good ones to start with are Amazon. I love the work that they've done on Snapchat. Grubhub is cute and funny, and even General Electric, right? And remember that you're also marketing to consumers too. You know, what people say to me all the time is that, oh, I'm a B2B company. Guess what? You're marketing to people that are also consumers. So the thing that B2B companies need to remember is that you're still marketing to consumers. There are still consumers responsible for purchasing a product or service for their business needs. And it's not just a tube of lipstick, right? B2B consumers are still searching for great content from brands that will entertain, inspire, and even inform them, right? So use those B2C brands for inspiration. And then the last thing I want to do is kind of go over some live streaming best practices. There's a lot here. Some of it might seem a little bit redundant because we went over it with Snapchat, but I just want to touch base. Give followers a behind-the-scenes look at your event, right? That's really important because a lot of B2B brands attend conferences. Soon, I was talking to Perry Nitzberg today. Soon there are going to be the Excalibur Awards for TAG. If any of you are coming, I will be there. Please look for me. Having your Snapchat channel available to events that you're attending, if your C-suite executives, maybe your CEO or head of innovation is giving a talk, live stream that. That's really important. Also, live stream product demonstrations, you know. Here's one way to keep sponsors really happy. Give followers a live demonstration of some of your products in action or some of your services. Yeah, it might come across a little bit pushy, but if you do it right, your viewers won't even notice. You know, your sponsors will keep coming back because they want to kind of understand, you know, what your products are about. Maybe you give somebody, your followers, a very exclusive, maybe lucrative offer. And this strategy also works if you have a new product of your own that you want to show to the world. You know, sneak peeks at new launches are really important. And what I'll tell you is that live streaming is a great way to schedule a stream and then give viewers a sneak peek of a new launch. You know, keep the stream limited to a handful of people to maintain exclusivity, and then you might want to later on then parlay that to a larger, longer Facebook Live event. So again, think about that when you think about integration. And again, host an entire event. You know, one of the things that I think is really unique that I'm seeing more and more with B2B companies, and I'll use Cisco as an example, is that they're actually interviewing employees, right? Helping them understand more and more about how to engage and understand the culture of a company. Host interviews with key speakers and guests. You know, get an influential speaker from your board to actually talk to. Maybe they have a strong following as well, and you can get their followers from Twitter to actually tune into your Snapchat or your Facebook live stream. You know, give away discounts, coupon codes, and prizes. Do that, you know, and I'll tell you that element of serendipity will get people to remain curious and allow that audience will continue to turn up. And, you know, turns out all the video you create on live streaming applications can also be used on other social media content. Snip out 10 to 15 seconds of a clip and post it elsewhere. Share tips, tell stories, you know, try to keep your channel helpful. You know, maybe if you're in the business of Agile or Scrum, you talk about the 5 to 10 things that people need to know. And also appropriately title your broadcast. So, you know, like we do with hashtags on Instagram and other social media channels like Pinterest. So it gets people really interested, right? Have a call to action. And also ask questions of the audience. One of the things I love about Periscope is that you can actually ask your audience to participate. Now I want to go through just a few legal implications that are really important when you're live streaming. I'll try to go through them quickly because I want to get at least the last 10 minutes for questions and answers. And I do appreciate your patience as we had a little bit of technical issue with me finding a couple of videos earlier in our presentation. It's really important that when you're recording with Facebook Live, Periscope, or Snapchat, that you think of the legal implications, right? Are you capturing copyrighted material, right? Both Facebook and Live and Periscope prohibit using the service to record anything that's copyrighted. So when you're thinking about live streaming, you know, watching a movie is a no-no, but also, and there's a reason why that is a no-no. Google Glass was banned from most movie theaters in 2014. It also goes to play when you're maybe live streaming a concert performance because that potentially infringes on the copyrights of multiple parties. So be really careful that you don't become a target of a lawsuit. And there are also some legal restrictions that apply to viewing, you know, a professional sporting event like Major League Baseball or an NFL game. So something like that is going on in the background. You want to maybe keep that to yourself. The other thing that's really important too is location, location, location. Boy, that is really important when it comes to the legality of live streaming. You know, if you're in a public place like a park, sidewalk, or bus, you have no reasonable expectation of privacy. What I'll say to you there is that someone can take your picture, record, or stream video of your activities and movements in public, unless, of course, they complain about it or they trespass. You know, you need to be very careful and know that, you know, if you've elected to go out in public and if someone captures your picture or video of you, it's unlikely you could do much about it. Two exceptions, though: commercial use and criminal peeping. People cannot use the picture or video they capture of you for commercial purposes. So if you've got somebody in your video that is an employee that's given you carte blanche to or legal approval, then you're great. But if you do a Periscope or a Facebook Live in the wild, you know, be mindful that anybody you capture could potentially sue you for their image if they know you're utilizing it for commercial purposes. The other thing that I'll say to you, too, that's really important is that the peeping piece. You know, just as photographing or recording videos of people's intimate areas is illegal in most states, it literally is called commercial peeping, so your privacy is also relatively unprotected in public places. But the law does protect your right to privacy when you're at home or in some other place where privacy is expected, like you know, your washroom in a public building or a doctor's office. So in a public place, you know, generally it's pretty legal to shoot, but brands should obtain releases beforehand if they plan to use content for commercial purposes. And again, you know, when you're thinking about shooting video, be mindful that you really have to have, you know, a plan. You know, avoiding high traffic areas, making sure that when you shoot someplace, there's no copyright or trademark. One of the brands that I work with did a really cute, we'll call it live streaming event as it pertains to their employees. They wanted to highlight their culture. And what wound up happening is one of the employees had a really great shirt on, but it had the label or logo of a very famous brand. And somebody caught eye of that and then wrote them a letter of cease and desist, simply because that famous brand was, you know, they felt being utilized for commercial purposes. What I tell people always is have a contingency plan. It's really important that, you know, you're very careful to have a contingency plan, that you know if, you know, you're planning on doing a live video and it doesn't work out that day, you've got some plan that's a backup that allows you to, you know, have that plan B. Maybe you decide to stream inside rather than outside. And it's really important that you scan, you know, the background. You know, is there any clothing or food packaging? Is there consumer products or any desktop items like trade show swag or bric-a-brac that somebody could actually sue you over, you know, copyright? So it's really important that, you know, when you're thinking about, you know, creating a live event or a live stream, make sure that you're doing it during a day or a time when you know that you're not going to have any interruptions, like a bring your child to work day, or if you decide to do something outside and all of a sudden, you know, you're shooting and they decide to do a protest right there in the middle of Main Street. So make sure that you do that. Also, if you want the background noise and activity, you know, to be at a minimum, always use a quality microphone so you can capture clean audio of your subject. And remember, it's very important that you obtain releases. You know, Facebook Live, Periscope live stream, it's important that you utilize this, but do it carefully as you would any professional video shoot, rather than creating just a spontaneous stream. And on that note, I want to thank you all. You've been awesome. We went over a little bit, but I want to ask if anybody has any questions. Ready to capture those now and answer any of them. And this is how you can connect with me, and I strongly encourage you, if any questions. There was a ton that I couldn't get into our presentation today, but I have access, and I'm happy to share that data and information. My email address is dorothea@socialespionage.com. Perry?
Yes, so we are going to just give a minute to see if anyone has any questions. I went ahead and typed it in the chat box. You can see at the bottom of your screen. So if anyone does have any, please ask now. Or like Dorothea said, feel free to email her separately and get in touch. She's definitely the expert in this area and really has some great insights that I think we can all get great use of. So we'll just give it another 30 seconds and see if anyone has anything to say.
Thank you so much, Perry, for hosting us. This was great, and thanks to Ready Talk.
Absolutely. Well, it doesn't look like anyone has any questions, but like we said before, email Dorothea. She's quick to respond. Really great insight. And Dorothea, we just want to thank you so much for helping out today. We really appreciate you sharing this insight and definitely giving us a great look at, influencer marketing and live streaming for your business. I think it's really helpful for a lot of us in that industry.
Yeah, and what I'll say is that there were so many case studies I wanted to include, but that I couldn't. And if people have any questions, to please have them. I just put my my email address, and I will be checking, by the way, to see who tweeted out the most, and I will contact them following today's webinar directly. As I said, don't hesitate to email me at dorothea@socialespionage.com if you have any questions. There's so much to this, and I think that, as we're starting to, as brands, understand how to utilize these new modalities, it's a little scary, You want to be able to, in some way, shape, or form, be able to manage this, but also to integrate it properly with what you're already doing with regard to your social media and digital marketing efforts. There are some best practices that I shared today, but there's so much more than that. So, again, I wanted to thank you all for the generous gift of your time. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me or Perry directly.
Yes, and this will also be featured on our YouTube channel, Technology Association of Georgia, if you guys would like to see it in the future. So once again, thank you so much, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.